Discover how a millionaire's hidden affair was exposed. A touching story that changed everything. Jake Thompson wiped the sweat from his brow as he tinkered with the hood of an old pickup in the garage. The clatter of tools and the smell of motor oil surrounded him like a comforting embrace. Riverton was alive with summer spirit. Kids splashed in sprinklers, the scent of barbecues wafted through the air, and talk of the annual fair stirred excitement among families. But lingering beneath the surface was an insidious whisper, an affair that threatened to split the town apart. Jake was a solid guy. At 32 he had the heart of a lion, taking care of his aging father, who battled tremors daily. Their small house was filled with quiet moments watching baseball on TV, reminiscing about old times, or simply sharing a simple meal at the kitchen table. Jake's world revolved around hard work, honesty, and love, values that ran deep in the veins of Riverton. "You do right by people and they'll do right by you," his dad always said, and Jake had clung to that mantra like a lifeline. Then came the news about Charles Sinclair, a man once revered in the community. The whispers started slow, but before long, they spiraled into a hurricane of judgment. Sinclair was caught having an affair with Rachel Harper, a beloved teacher. Jake felt the familiar tug of loyalty and betrayal, as his father's relationship with Sinclair had soured long ago, the gap between wealth and integrity widening over the years. The smell of fried dough and the sound of laughter echoed through the fair as townspeople gathered, unaware of the storm brewing behind the scenes. Would they support Sinclair, once their friend? Or would they turn their backs on him, now that he had faltered? Jake felt the pressure. He wanted to protect his father's name, while also recognizing the humanity in Sinclair, the man they all once admired. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the fair progressed, a group of townsfolk gathered around, gossiping like crows, their faces a mixture of anger and disappointment. Suddenly, a heated argument broke out. Emotions ignited like a flame. Parents turned to their little ones, shielding them from the harsh snipes about loyalty and betrayal. Jake's chest tightened. He could feel eyes on him, waiting, wondering which side he'd take. Just then, a pile of letters fell out of Sinclair's car, swirling around like leaves caught in a whirlwind. They contained secrets, raw truths wrapped in paper that could shatter perceptions. As Jake picked them up, an overwhelming urge to confront what lay beneath the surface washed over him. Would voicing his thoughts mend the fraying bonds of the community, or turn them to splinters? The crowd's murmur rose as they awaited his next move, a reverberating tide of uncertainty. Jake's heart pounded. He had a choice, a moment that could either shatter Riverton or heal it. With that thought lingering, he stepped forward, ready to face whatever storm awaited him. Jake took a deep breath, his heart racing as he stood before the gathered townspeople. The scent of popcorn and cotton candy hung in the air, but it couldn't drown out the tension swirling around him. He felt the weight of the letters in his hands. Their edges were frayed and worn, carrying secrets that could spark a wildfire or usher in a calm. "What do you have there, Jake?" a voice called out from the crowd, cutting through the tension like a knife. It was Billy, the local barber, his face scrunched in curiosity and wariness. The crowd leaned in, eyes narrowing. Holding the letters up, Jake let uncertainty flicker across his face. "These are from Sinclair's car," he started, forcing his voice to steady. "I think they might tell us something about what's happening. Something deeper." Gasps rippled through the crowd, and murmurs spread like wildfire. Some people shook their heads, others held their breath, wanting desperately to know more yet afraid of what the truth might bring. He glanced down at the first letter, unfolding it slowly. The neat handwriting seemed to jump off the page, filled with longing and regret. It wasn't just about an affair. It was a glimpse into a man drowning in his mistakes, desperately trying to balance his needs with the expectations of his life. "He loved her," Jake murmured. Silence fell, heavy and tangible, as the townsfolk strained to hear. "There are feelings here, not just betrayal. Pain." "God, Jake. You can't be serious." shouted Marcy, a mother of 3 and a lifelong friend of Sinclair's wife. "You're defending him?" Her words were laced with outrage, but beneath the surface, there was fear that her world might shift in a way she couldn't reconcile. "No, I'm not defending him," Jake replied sharply. "I'm talking about context. We can't just tear him down without trying to understand what drove him to do this." The crowd surged with emotion. Some nodded in agreement, some turned away. A woman cried out, "He's just a man who made a mistake. He's not the monster we want him to be." This was the moment Jake had feared. The fracture line was clearer than ever now. Standing at the crossroads of truth and deception, he felt the urge to mend what was being broken around him. The town was his family, and he couldn't bear to watch it crumble. "Listen," he shouted, his voice rising above the din. "We all have our struggles. Sinclair's made decisions we can't understand, but tearing him down is not the answer. We need to find a way to heal, not just punish someone for what he has done. That's not who we are." The crowd wavered. Some agreed, nodding slowly, while others fumed, unwilling to let go of their indignation. Murmurs of forgiveness? And is that even possible? Swept through the group. Just then, without warning, a figure stepped forward from the back of the crowd. Rachel Harper. Her face was pale, her hands trembling. "Jake's right," she said, voice quavering but resolute. "We need to face this head-on. Not just for our sake but for everyone involved. We owe it to ourselves and to our community." Gasps and whispers filled the air once more. Was this a turning point? Could truth offer a way forward? Jake felt hope ignite in his chest, but it was small and fragile, flickering like a candle against the storm. They were about to dive into uncharted waters, where the currents could pull them apart or draw them closer together. As Rachel's eyes met Jake's, he knew this was only the beginning. The secrets within Sinclair's letters could change everything. What more lay hidden beneath the surface of Riverton? A moment of reflection washed over him, leaving one burning question. Were they ready to uncover the truth, no matter the cost? The air thickened as Rachel's voice hung like a fragile thread between hope and despair. The crowd stilled, uncertainty casting shadows on their faces. Jake shared a quick glance with her, the understanding between them solidifying. It was time to press on, to delve deeper. "Let me read another," he said, heart pounding in anticipation. He unfolded the second letter, each crease whispering of heartache. The words flowed like a river of vulnerability, detailing dreams lost and paths untaken. The yearning sprang from the page. Jake read aloud, the weight of the letter wrapping around him. "I can't keep living like this. I need to feel alive again. I thought of you. Always." A heavy sigh escaped the crowd, and he noticed the way some townsfolk softened, their anger giving way to a dawning empathy. Marcy's expression shifted, perplexed but intrigued, as if the man she thought a monster was suddenly just human. "What if this changes everything?" A voice piped from the back, shaking. It was Jimmy, the baker's son, who had idolized Sinclair since he was a kid. If he was just lost? Jake continued, pinning the pages against the rising wind. "It's about understanding. Sinclair, like us, isn't perfect. We're quick to judge because it's safe." His hand trembled slightly, but he pressed on, the words spilling into the growing tension. "But we need to consider what drives someone to betray, not just condemn them." Rachel stepped forward, passion igniting her features. "We have the chance to learn, to heal together. What Sinclair has done might hurt, but it doesn't define him. Or any of us." The crowd was shifting, the air electric with possibilities and confusion. Voices whirled, overlapping in raw emotion. Someone shouted, "But what about the pain he caused? Isn't pain a part of growth?" Rachel countered, her voice firm. "Can't we use this to inspire change?" Jake felt the stirrings of unity. Perhaps, just perhaps, this community, so used to dividing itself along fault lines, was ready for a different conversation. A chance to heal together rather than force splinters deeper. As his heart raced, he caught sight of an older man standing to the side, a fixture in the town for decades. Mr. Thompson, with his wisdom etched in wrinkles, raised a hand. "What about our children? What do we teach them about forgiveness? They need to see us navigate this without hatred." The murmurs shifted again, contemplative and somber. Jake could almost hear the wheels turning in their minds. "Let us not teach them to throw stones," Marcy breathed, her tone laced with newfound understanding. Maybe we should show them how to build bridges instead. Hope surged in Jake's chest as he smiled, warming to the momentum of the moment. That's it. Let us gather our strength, not just to confront Sinclair but to understand ourselves. He's part of this community, can we leave him out in the cold? They stood together, the temperature shifting from heavy fear toward an electric tension filled with possibility. Yet, lurking beneath the surface was an unspoken question. Was their willingness to forgive a chance for true community growth, or just a bandage on a wound that ran deeper than they dared to explore? As the crowd began murmuring in agreement, Jake felt something in the air shift, a crack of light breaking through the storm. Just as he thought they were ready to take a step forward, a frantic shout echoed through the fairground, freezing everyone in place. Wait! There's something you need to know. Jake turned, his heart skipping a beat. What revelation could derail their fragile hope? The air thickened once more as every eye in the crowd snapped to the unknown figure stepping forward. The figure advancing was Clara, the town librarian, her usual calm demeanor replaced by urgency. She clutched a crumpled newspaper clipping to her chest, eyes wide with fear and resolve. The crowd parted slightly as she approached, drawn to her evident distress. Clara, what's wrong? Jake pressed, instinctively stepping toward her. She took a shaky breath, her voice trembling as she spoke. I just found out something about Sinclair's past. It's been kept hidden, and these truths, they're more complicated than we ever thought. The murmurs escalated, rippling through the crowd. Jake could see faces shift from curiosity to concern, the atmosphere crackling like a live wire. What do you mean? Rachel urged, taking a step closer. Clara held up the newspaper, the headlines stark against the soft glow of the evening. He was involved in something big, a scandal that shook the city a few years ago. This isn't just a personal failure. It's a web of deceit that reaches beyond our town. Gasps rippled through the crowd, disbelief mingling with growing anxiety. Jake felt sweat bead on his forehead. What kind of scandal? He asked, trying to maintain a steady voice. Clara unfolded the paper, her hands occasionally shaking. There was a financial fraud case. Sinclair was accused of lining his pockets while others lost everything. It's what drove him here, to escape. He thought he could start anew. Jake felt the ground beneath him shift. So this was all an act? We're just a footnote in his quest for redemption? The words tasted bitter, the fragile hope that had begun to take shape feeling threatened. But does that remove our need to understand? Rachel interjected fiercely, stepping in front of Jake as if to shield their budding resolve from the weight of the truth looming before them. Everyone makes mistakes, sometimes horrific ones. But we have the power to encourage growth, not just punishment. The crowd was fractured now, some turning their faces away in anger, others drawn to the glimmer of compassion that Rachel offered. Jake felt torn, the emotional tug-of-war playing havoc with his heart. Could they still embrace this chance for forgiveness in light of such explosive revelations? Clara looked deeply into the eyes of those gathered, her voice softening. This is why we need to talk. Sinclair's choices were born from desperation, from a need to escape his own failures. Are we willing to extend our hands to someone whose past is so much darker than we thought? Silence thickened the air, broken only by the rustle of leaves under the wind. One of the elder women in the crowd, Mrs. Harper, stepped forward, eyes shimmering with unshed tears. I lost everything too once. My husband, my home. I had to rebuild, and it hurt. If we're not willing to forgive him, we're as lost as he is. Jake swallowed hard, torn between the urge to protect the community and the flickering flame of understanding that had ignited. But what if he's not deserving of it? He whispered, the uncertainty gnawing at him. Deserving or not, everyone is worth the chance to grow, Rachel said, her voice steadier now. But can we be the ones to show him that path? The cacophony of voices erupted again, a swirling sea of opinions, doubts, and fears. Just when it felt like they might find common ground, a deep, resonant voice cut through the chaos, shocking everyone into silence. You want to talk about forgiveness? You need to hear my side of the story. Sinclair himself stepped out from the shadows, eyes fierce and glistening as he made his way toward the crowd. Jake's heart raced. This was the moment they'd all been waiting for. Yet it felt like the calm before a storm. What could Sinclair possibly say that would change everything again? Would he inspire unity or deepen the fracture? Sinclair stood at the edge of the crowd, the moonlight playing over his troubled features. There was a weightiness in his expression, a mix of apprehension and determination. He took a moment, scanning the faces that once offered him warmth, now shadowed by doubt and anger. "Please just hear me out," he said, his voice steady yet thick with emotion. "I know what you've just learned about me, and I realize I'm not the man you thought I was." He paused, glancing at Clara, then Rachel before his gaze fell on Jake. "But I am here to own that, to bear it all." A silence hung in the air, thick with tension. The crowd was a mix of fury and curiosity, eyes darting from Sinclair to one another, waiting for him to unravel the truth. Jake could hardly breathe. He was caught in the storm of feelings swirling around him. "Years ago," Sinclair began, his voice deepening, "I was a man driven by ambition, blinded by my own need for success. I made choices that hurt so many people." He clenched his jaw, visibly struggling with the memories. "But it wasn't just about greed. I was trying to keep up a facade for my family, for everyone who believed in me." The crowd murmured, the spark of empathy kindling slowly in some hearts. Sinclair turned more towards them, his demeanor shifting as he spoke. "I fell into a situation I regret every day, a relationship that pulled me deeper into darkness. That's what led to my downfall. I thought I could juggle it all and not hurt anyone in the process, but I was wrong." Rachel stepped closer, drawn in by his honesty. "So you never wanted to harm us? You were just caught in your own mistakes?" she asked, her voice gentle yet probing. "Yes," Sinclair replied, his voice thickening with emotion. "But that's not enough of an excuse for the devastation I caused. I let my ambitions and relationships spiral out of control." He took a deep breath, locking eyes with Clara and then Jake. "When I arrived here, I wanted to start fresh, but I carried those chains of the past with me. I thought I was escaping, but it was just a coward's way out." Jake felt his heart constrict. The man before him was exposing layers of shame, revealing a vulnerability that resonated deeply. But the anger simmering in the crowd was still palpable. Sinclair continued, shifting the conversation with urgency. "I've learned the hard way that forgiveness isn't just a gift you ask for, it's a burden you have to earn. I'm not asking for your trust right now, but I need to share this pain with you because perhaps together we can transform it." Sinclair's earnestness was palpable, as if he carried not only his own burdens but those of every individual he wronged. "Do you have what it takes to change?" someone shouted from the back, the voice sharp with skepticism. Sinclair nodded slowly, deep emotion breaking through his tough exterior. "I want to prove that I do. If you let me, I want to make amends, to help this community that gave me shelter, that opened its arms to me despite my past. But I can't do it alone." The murmur shifted to whispers as people began to consider his words. Suddenly, Sinclair's plea broke through the thick air. "Let us build a future together. But first, I need to face the people I have wronged. We all do together." Jake felt the churning inside him, like being on the edge of a great discovery, or the brink of a dangerous cliff. Could they truly take that step toward a future with Sinclair? Or were they being let deeper into his unresolved shadows? As the crowd stirred with new emotions drawing closer to Sinclair, a sense of possibility lingered in the air, thick with both hope and caution. But before anyone could speak, a figure emerged from the shadows again, this time beside Sinclair. "Maybe it's not just forgiveness he needs, maybe it's the truth behind his failures that could set us free." Jake's breath hitched, and he braced himself for the revelation that would reshape everything again. Who was this new figure, and what truth were they about to risk it all for? The figure stepping into the light was a woman, tall with striking features that were instantly both captivating and intimidating. Jake squinted, trying to recall where he had seen her before. Her piercing blue eyes scanned the crowd, coming to rest on Sinclair. "It's time to stop hiding, Sinclair," she said clearly, her voice carrying an edge that cut through the tension. Another hush fell over the group. "Who are you?" one voice called out, breaking the stunned silence. "I'm Sarah, a part of the past Sinclair is so desperately trying to escape." She took a small step forward, the air around them buzzing with anticipation. This name hit Jake like a shockwave, memories crashing over him. He had heard whispers about a woman linked to Sinclair, but he never expected she'd show up here at the crux of their gathering, in front of all these people. "Sarah," Sinclair breathed, visibly caught off guard. His bravado faltered just for a second, revealing a man more fragile than he'd shown. I agreed to come today because I want the truth to come out, Sinclair. You talk about your mistakes, but there's a lot more to it than just ambition or greed. She took a deep breath, steeling herself. You need to explain how you dragged others into your chaos. Not just that you regret it. The crowd backtracked, taken aback by her ferocity. Was she here to destroy Sinclair's plea? Jake thought, feeling a mix of protective instinct and curiosity. Sinclair's jaw clenched. This isn't the time exactly. When do you think we'll confront it? She interrupted, her voice unwavering. You want forgiveness without accountability. That's not how this works. The murmurs in the crowd began to swell again. A jumble of confusion and intrigue. Jake felt the weight of the moment shifting, grasping this could go one of two ways swiftly. All right, Sinclair began, his tone low but resolute. I didn't just make mistakes. I caused fractures. I imported chaos into people's lives, yours included, Sarah. He nodded to her, acknowledging the shared wounds that connected them. Let us lay it all out, she urged, her eyes fierce. What happened between us was pointless, a mere indulgence that left a wake of devastation. Share it, Sinclair. Tell them how it went down. The crowd edged closer, captivated. Jake's heart raced. He could feel the gravity of Sinclair's past bearing down on them all. But there was something electrifying about this moment. Would Sinclair rise to this challenge? I thought I could be two different men at once, Sinclair admitted, tension coiling in his voice. The man who loved his family and the man who chased the thrill of something forbidden. But it was an illusion that shattered not just my life, but Sarah's too, and everyone else. The connection was laid bare. Sinclair's past brushing against the present, warming it with the glow of truth yet chilling with the reality of their community's hurt. As he recounted events that spiraled from choices to consequences, Jake's mind grazed over the faces around him. Anguish and curiosity collided in their expressions, some pained by memories of their own that had been stitched into Sinclair's dark tapestry. When Sinclair finished, there was silence again. It wasn't a silence of judgment, but one of contemplation. The crowd, once skeptical, seemed to share a collective breath, a seeing, a feeling. Hope stirred among them. What now? A voice finally broke through, tinged with uncertainty yet edged with hope. Sinclair's eyes sharpened, fixated on the crowd. Now we mend what we can. Together. But I can't do that alone, not anymore. Just then Rachel stepped forward, her features lighting with resolve. We need to be honest too. All of us. If there are truths hidden among us, let us face them and see how deep this goes. We've all suffered in silence. Jake felt his pulse racing anew as he looked around. Was her bravery a signal to take a leap of faith toward collective healing? In that moment, the air was thick with possibility and the faintest remnants of fear. Could they uncover everything together? Would unveiling their truths bring the closure they desperately needed or plunge them deeper into chaos? With hearts full of unanswered questions, they stood poised on the precipice of revelation, their shared destiny hanging in the balance. The crowd shifted as the weight of Sarah's words hung in the air. It felt like the moment before a storm, heavy with expectation. Sinclair's gaze swept over the faces staring back at him. Jake could see the vulnerability pulling at his features. This was more than an admission. It was a bridge to the truth, yet the fear of what lay underneath loomed large. Sinclair took a deep breath, his voice barely above a whisper. Rachel is right. We've all carried our burdens, but it's time to share them. He glanced at Sarah, who offered a slight nod of encouragement. With each word, the tension within Jake started to morph into a strange sense of unity. Was this the moment they turned their collective pain into strength? Sinclair leaned in, a mix of determination and dread in his eyes. I thought I could keep it all under wraps. The affairs, the lies, I thought they kept my family safe. As he unfolded his story, Jake could see the reactions ripple out. Some nodded while others looked ready to bolt. He wondered how many held secrets of their own, mirroring Sinclair's struggles in the shadows. I had everything I ever wanted, Sinclair continued, but I was greedy, blind to my choices. Sarah and we thought we were invincible. We shared moments that felt alive but only left others, people who loved us, broken. His voice cracked, making the last word almost a plea. Sarah stepped closer, her expression unwavering. Instead of love, you wielded destruction like a weapon, she said quietly, cutting through Sinclair's bravado. We were caught in this cycle of thrill and remorse, forgetting we weren't the only ones affected. Look around. Those shattered lives, they deserve more than just acknowledgement. Jake felt a shiver run down his spine. The undercurrents of pain in that room swirled about like a whirlwind. Sinclair was unveiling not just his own past, but also compelling the crowd to confront their stories. That was bearing a burden together, wasn't he it? Do you regret it, Sinclair? One voice rang out again from the crowd, piercing the emotionally charged atmosphere. Jake turned, realizing it was Clara. Her brow furrowed with genuine concern. There was a long pause, the kind that made hearts race. Sinclair's face morphed, throwing Jake into an internal turmoil. This was not about him, or the need for forgiveness. It was much bigger. Yes, he finally said, taking a decisive step forward. I do regret it. And deeply. But regret doesn't fix what's broken. We need to build something new together. I can't change my past, but I can work on my present, on our present. The vulnerability in Sinclair's voice reached through barriers, reaching everyone present. Jake felt a wave of hope wash over him, but it collided with another crushing thought. Could they really mend all that was broken? What if we can't? The trepidation slipped from someone's lips. What if facing our truths destroys what we have left? The question hung in the air, potent and unsettling. Jake's pulse quickened. He caught Rachel's eye and could see the tension coiling like a spring. They were right on the brink, but what was on the other side of this moment? Then we'll face that together. Whatever it is, Sinclair said, his voice gathering strength. Because we owe it to ourselves, to everyone we've hurt, and to the chance of healing. A wave of murmurs erupted, filled with a mix of hope and doubt. Jake's heart raced as he felt something shifting inside him. A desperate yearning for resolution, and yet terror about what that resolution might entail. What if one revelation tore through their fragile unity, leaving them exposed once more? Or could this be the catalyst for a new beginning? As Jake looked around at the faces illuminated by uncertainty and longing, the air buzzed with potential. Should he stand up, speak, reveal his own pain now? Let us do this, he thought to himself, ready to step forward. But the question lingering in the air made his heart race. Could facing the truth lead to true healing? Or would it rip them apart once again? They were about to find out. The tension in the room was palpable, swirling around like the heavy smoke of a bonfire. Jake could feel the weight of the unspoken secrets pressing down on him, squeezing his chest. The moment felt electric, charged with possibility and danger. He glanced at Rachel, searching her eyes for guidance, but found only uncertainty mirrored back at him. Maybe this is the time, he whispered under his breath, nerves buzzing. Steeling himself, he took a deep breath, the air around him thick with expectation. Sinclair had found his voice. Perhaps it was Jake's turn to find his. Sinclair, Jake started, his voice trembling slightly. I can relate to what you're saying. I've been wrestling with my own truth. The murmurs in the crowd quieted as all eyes turned towards him. He fought the urge to retreat, feeling raw and exposed. I thought I had it all figured out, too, at least on the surface. My life looked perfect. But beneath? I've hurt people I love. And like you said, I thought I could keep all the pain at bay. Yet it creeps back in when you least expect it. The words bubbled up, each syllable laden with the weight of his choices. He could feel Sarah's encouraging nod urging him to continue. I didn't recognize how my actions affected others, how my silence hid my guilt. And every time I looked into Rachel's eyes there was this gnawing fear. What if she found out? What if I lost everything? His gaze lingered on Rachel. Her face was etched with concern, but she also seemed ready to hear him out, ready to talk about everything they had tiptoed around in the dead of night, their whispered arguments echoing in the silence. Jake swallowed hard. I wish I could rewind time. Just like Sinclair, I don't want to keep running from it anymore. Facing it? That's where the real courage lies. A murmur moved through the crowd, a ripple of shared understanding. Let us face it, together, Sinclair added, his voice steady. We can't change the past, but talking about it? It can keep us grounded. Jake felt something shift within him, a flicker of courage igniting. We owe it to ourselves to break the cycle of hurt. Together. He locked eyes with Sinclair, then scanned the room. We can no longer be afraid of each other's pain. Maybe it's time we shed our secrets. The silence that followed didn't feel heavy with dread anymore. It felt like an opening, a gap where hope could slip through. Clara stepped forward, her voice determined. I want to share my truth too. I'm tired of hiding behind walls. They're so isolating. A few murmurs of agreement rose from the crowd. Jake's heart began to race faster, the adrenaline pumping through his veins. What were they all afraid of? They weren't in this alone. They each held pieces of a larger story. The woman next to Clara caught Jake's eye, her expression a mix of fear and determination. I have something to say, something I've hidden far too long. The floodgates were opening. As people began to speak, unveiling their secrets one by one, Jake felt the warmth of connection begin to envelop the group. Each story built a bridge, revealing fragments of heartache and struggles that paralleled his own. Jake's fears began to ebb away into excitement. Every revelation was a step closer to healing. But behind that rising tide of hope lay an undeniable reality. This moment could also backfire. What if the truths once exposed fractured their fragile unity instead of strengthening it? As the stories poured out, Jake's breath caught in his throat. Would they be able to withstand the weight of each other's truths? And in doing so, could they mend the pain they caused one another? He gripped the edge of the chair, ready to lean in even further, ready to unravel his own truth. But deep down, the question lingered: was there enough strength in their unity to face what lay ahead? As he prepared to take the plunge, the voices around him began to fade, leaving only the question hanging in the air: would they emerge from this moment stronger, or would the surge of honesty ultimately tear them all apart? It was a risk they were all now forced to confront. Jake could feel the room begin to pulse as voices rose and fell like the tide. Each confession, each revelation, shaped an invisible thread that intertwined them all in a tapestry of shared pain and resilience. Clara stepped into the mirror of vulnerability, her voice steady yet trembling. I've kept this secret for so long, she said, her eyes flicking towards the floor. I always felt like I wasn't enough. Not smart enough, not pretty enough. A soft gasp rippled through the crowd, unity evident in their collective gasp. I betrayed a friend because I thought it would make me feel better about myself. But instead I just felt worse. Every head nodded as they saw the truth in her story. It echoed something inside Jake, a reminder of how easy it was to hide behind facades. Behind him, someone sniffed audibly, a short sob that signaled more hearts were cracking open under the weight of confession. Then it was Rachel's turn. She hadn't yet spoken, but Jake could feel the tension radiating from her. He held his breath, wondering how her revelations might change the air in the room. Rachel took a step forward, her voice soft but clear. I've always been scared to let people in. I build these walls to protect myself. But all that did was keep love out too. I'm tired of being terrified. The room held its breath. Jake's heart skipped as he recognized the tremor in her voice. He wished more than anything to reach out and hold her, to reassure her that they could face anything together. Maybe it's time we let go of what we think we need to be, Rachel added, glancing over at Jake. What if we just were ourselves? Jake's skin tightened with an urge to get closer, to weave their lives together in this moment. He could almost hear the echoes of their previous arguments, the confusion, the hurt. But with each new truth, he felt the weight of those memories lifting, making space for understanding. Sinclair raised his hand, and the room hushed again. Let us make a pact right here, right now. No more hiding. No more secrets. If we can share our fears, our regrets, we can start fresh. His gaze swept across the crowd. Are you with me? A cacophony of assents followed, voices rising like smoke into the air, pushing back any doubts that tried to creep in. Jake could feel the courage swell around him, weaving through everyone like a current, binding them closer as a community. It felt like they were finally stepping into the light. Then, instinctively, he stood. I want to share too, he declared, his heart racing. His palms felt clammy, but he knew he had to push through the fear. I haven't always been honest with myself or with Rachel, and I think it's time you all knew. He could almost hear his heart pounding in his ears. I had an affair. It was a decision I made in a moment of weakness, and it has haunted me ever since. Gasps filled the air again, but beneath the shock, Jake felt eyes soften, faces show compassion rather than anger. He saw Rachel's expression shift, a mixture of pain and understanding. His voice shook. It wasn't about love. It was about running away from what scared me most, my own vulnerability. And I hurt you, Rachel. I never wanted to, but I did. And for that I am truly sorry. Silence followed, the room thick with unspoken thoughts. Jake searched Rachel's eyes, wondering if she would slam the door on him or find a way to open it. Would they be able to pick up the pieces together? But somewhere in that silence flickered a light, a spark of possibility. What if they could rebuild? What if this moment was just the beginning of something stronger? As he stood there, vulnerable in his brokenness, a question hung in the air. Would they choose to face the truth together? Or in this moment of exposure, would everything fall apart? Jake's heart raced, not just from fear, but from hope. This was an opening, and the journey ahead was theirs to shape. Who among them would dare to share what lay buried deep inside next? The whispers of uncertainty faded as silence enveloped the crowd. Jake's confession hung in the air, a fragile thread connecting him to Rachel, Sinclair, and everyone there. He could feel eyes on him, some wide with shock, others glistening with tears. Rachel stepped forward, her expression a tumult of pain, sorrow, and something like hope. "You hurt me, Jake." It cut deep. Her voice was steady, yet vulnerable. "But I see you standing here, owning up to your mistakes. That takes real courage. And I don't know if I'm ready to forgive you right away. But I do respect that you're being honest." Jake's heart sank, yet a flicker of relief danced within him. She was here, allowing space for his truth, even if it was a magic cure-all. Maybe, just maybe, the seeds of healing were beginning to sprout. Sinclair spoke next, his voice softer now, almost fatherly. "This bravery, I see it in all of you. It's raw, it's real. And it's what we need to build this community back up. Mistakes don't have to shatter us, but they can guide us toward something new." Around the crowd, nods of agreement echoed, and Jake felt the quiet stirring of hope. This moment was turning into more than just confessions. It was blossoming into an understanding that, together, they could face the unknown. "Can we really forgive?" Someone behind Jake murmured, their anxieties clinging in the air. It was the question everyone had tucked away, the elephant in the room. Sinclair turned to the crowd, stepping closer. "Forgiveness doesn't mean ignoring the hurt. It means getting to understand why the hurt occurred and allowing ourselves to evolve with it. It's facing the truth and still choosing to care." The atmosphere around them shifted, the tension dissipating in the warmth of potential understanding. Clara stepped up, her voice growing stronger. "If we open our hearts, maybe our past doesn't define us. It shapes us, yes, but it doesn't have to break us." The crowd again seemed to swell with agreement. Jake felt the urge to jump in again. "Then let us be the change. Starts with us. Sinclair, you once helped this town become a better place. Let us harness that spirit and build something beautiful from the ashes of this chaos together." As the words flowed between them, a collective breath sparked laughter from those beginning to feel lighter, their defenses softening. Sinclair nodded, his eyes glittering with hope. Every town, every family faces strife. What matters is how we choose to pick up the pieces afterward. If we hold tightly to our burdens, we can't extend our hands to pull others back up. A ripple of acknowledgement danced through the voices around them. "Let us start today," Rachel prompted, leaning towards Jake, urgency threading through her words. "We define our community. We shape it with our hands. Each revelation is a chance to rebuild something better than what we had." Jake felt a surge of courage. "I want to collaborate with all of you. Let us share stories, turn our pain into something that can help others. We can hold workshops, create events that focus on healing, on nurturing each other instead of tearing down." "I love that idea," someone shouted from the back, enthusiasm sparking in the crowd. "Let us commit to making Riverton a place of kindness and understanding." The energy around them intensified, filled with optimism and murmurs of agreement, echoing one after the other. The townsfolk, once fragmented, were coming together, united under a shared purpose. Jake leaned toward Rachel, his heart entwined with bravery and vulnerability. "No matter where this takes us, I want to work on our relationship too. If you're willing, I promise to face the truth of our story." She held his gaze, eyes shimmering with a mixture of hope and fear, but also a willingness to explore the journey ahead. "I'd like that," she whispered, a tentative yet radiant smile spreading across her face. As Sinclair brought the crowd to a close, he raised his hands to hold their attention. "This is just the beginning. Together we can turn our pasts into profound lessons that shape our futures. Let be the testament they will speak of a community that didn't shy away from turbulence, but learned how to rise from it. Jake felt a swell of emotion, a harmony binding them all together under the soft glow of the summer evening. As laughter began to ripple through the fairgrounds again, the remnants of shame and fear began to lift. Communities could heal, he thought, eyes glistening with tears of joy. Here in Riverton, they were transforming from a town fractured by secrets into a family bound by understanding. "We can do this," Jake murmured almost to himself. "Yes," Rachel replied softly, squeezing his hand. "We can." And in that moment, Jake realized this was not just the story of one man's failure, it was the birth of another. One filled with hope, understanding, and a commitment to nurture their community anew. The crowd erupted in applause, a beautiful blend of voices ringing out, each person on their path to transformation, resolute about diving into a future colored by unity and shared honesty. They were ready to embark on the healing journey together, taking a bold step into tomorrow as a renewed community. And as the fair began to glow with lights brighter than before, Jake understood this was more than an ending, it was an inspiring beginning. Now this is the moment to show your support. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending, let your voice be heard. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation.